Hey guys, so I've received so many comments from you guys asking about the little customizations that I have done to my flute. Here is my flute. It is a Brannen. For those of you who have been asking if this is gold, yes, it is. It is 10 karat rose gold. The first time I ever heard of rose gold was when I ordered this flute. Originally, when I was 16 years old, I actually tried a Brannen yellow gold flute. I had tried this flute at the one and only Vancouver Flute Festival that was ever put on in honor of Sir James Galway coming in town. That was my first exposure to a flute festival ever, and I went around trying flutes at every single booth. I had never heard of Brannen when I walked up to their booth. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a gold flute. Can I try it? Now keep in mind, I'm 16 years old, okay? So I had no idea what I was doing. The representative looked at me like I was a naive little girl, which I was. And she was like, yeah, okay, sure. So I tried it, and this flute, man, oh my gosh. I felt like I didn't have to do anything special with the way that I played. It just responded to me immediately. And not only was it extremely responsive to me, the sound was just so warm and mellow and just, you know, it was like liquid gold in pitch sound form. So I asked them how much it cost. And of course, they told me that it cost $29,000. So as you can imagine, I put it down as quickly as I could without just throwing it on the table, and then I ran away. Needless to say, I fell in love with the sound of a gold flute, and I just knew from that point on that if I was going to really become a professional flutist, I knew that that was the brand for me at least, and I knew that it had to be gold. So now you're probably wondering why I was willing to shell out a large amount of money for a gold flute. I have my silver Mateki here. I'm going to play both my silver Mateki and my gold Brannen so you guys can kind of hear the difference between the two. Okay, so that's silver. Now we're gonna play gold. Did you hear that? Like, the silver had a lot more natural zing to the sound. It projects more, it kind of goes out a little bit more. But the gold tends to be a little bit more laid back, mellow, warm. I personally love the gold sound, and it just happens to work with what I play in real life. So I love playing second flute, third flute. The second flute and third flute parts are always blending in with the first flute, or you're blending in with other instruments in your orchestra or in your band. And I loved having the kind of like ultimate flexibility with a gold flute to do all that blending. I personally find it pretty difficult to blend in the way that I want with other instruments when I am playing a silver flute. It's not that it's impossible, but I have to work a lot harder at it. The only con about having a gold flute was before I developed my soloistic sound on my gold flute, because that took a while for me to develop. Whenever we were paired up in band or in orchestra to do tuning exercises, whoever was paired up with me always found it immensely difficult to try to tune to me. When they tried to tune to me, my sound was so mellow and I always wanted to blend in with them instead. So it felt like they were blending to no one. So in conclusion, gold flutes are not for everyone. It really depends on what you normally play. It also depends on your personality. And that is why I always encourage you guys to go to flute festivals and try as many flutes as you can, because that's really the only way for you to find out what speaks through you the most naturally. So now let's take another look at my flute. You'll notice that it has silver keys on it. I did have the option of putting gold keys on it, but I didn't particularly feel that having gold keys would really affect my sound that much. The other thing is that gold keys are way more expensive than silver keys, so I decided to go with the silver keys. I did also have the option of engraving the keys with, you know, really pretty designs, but I also opted out of doing that because it was a lot more expensive to add that on. Some people say that if you include engravings on the keys and on the lip plate where the lip plate meets your chin, it creates added friction, so you don't end up slipping off of the keys and off of the lip plate as much as if it's just plain like this. So I see how people would see it that way, but at the same time, I just didn't particularly think that I should put my money into that. Many of you noticed this little piece of cork that I have put under the index finger of the left hand. If you looked very closely, you probably noticed I did it to my Miteki too. It really is just a piece of cork that has been cement glued onto the key. Cement glue won't hurt the metal, so if ever I had to sell this, which I don't ever plan on selling this flute, but if ever I had to sell it and I had to take it off, it's very easy to just take off the cement glue. Why did I do it though? I actually saw my friend Paul Hung do it on his flute. It was recommended to him by our flute specialist technician person who is in Vancouver. She fashioned this thing for him so that he wouldn't have to scrunch his finger as hard coming all the way down. Look how lovely and natural my hand looks like this with the added height. Typically you'll see people squeezing their finger all the way down like this, and it does cause a little bit of extra tension. For me, it caused so much extra tension that I was actually getting back pain. Right here, it was pulling a muscle back here. As soon as I had this little piece of cork installed, it made my back pain go away completely. Now you guys are probably noticing this Fingerport. I treat this Fingerport as an extension. It extends a lot further out than the Bo-Pep. The Bo-Pep finger saddle I find is more of a guide to just make sure that your finger is in the right place. For me, because I have super small hands, if I don't have this Fingerport, this is what happens to my fingers. You see how flat my ring finger and my pinky is? And it's because my hand is squashed down this way, right? And it makes it so that I have to reach further to get to these keys. But if I pop this guy on, it actually lifts my hand outward. You see, look at that immediate change. Now I'm suddenly able to have this natural curve in my ring finger and pinky, which allows me to play much faster and with like almost no tension. I only have this Fingerport because my hands are so darn small. If you have long fingers, you probably don't have this problem at all. Now, if we continue on, you'll probably notice offset G. Offset G key is now standard on flutes, but you will find that there are some older flutes out there that have inline Gs. So inline Gs just mean that these two keys right here are in line with all the other keys. You see how these two keys right here are offset from the other keys right now? That was done to just make it more comfortable for your ring finger to actually reach those keys. If I had an inline G, I would not be able to cover the hole. Like my fingers are just too short. Now you'll notice I have an extra key here above the B flat lever. That is a C sharp trill key. The C sharp trill key is becoming standard on flutes now. Even some beginner model flutes are starting to have the C sharp trill key. The C sharp trill key allows you to, one, trill between B and C sharp with only this key. You just hold down a B and then you trill with the C sharp trill key, and then you'll end up trilling from B to C sharp. You usually have to trill these two keys at the same time versus huge difference, right? And the other thing is that this C sharp trill key actually allows you to play a C sharp extremely in tune. So if you have to hold a C sharp for a long time, instead of holding the normal fingering, which is tuning wise kind of unstable actually. You can actually hold a C natural fingering and hold down the C sharp, and you'll get a really stable, very in tune C sharp. You hear how strong that is compared to... It's been a known problem on the modern metal flute that the C sharp is extremely unstable, tuning wise and tone wise too. On top of that, the C sharp trill key is useful for a lot of really weird high register trills. So for example, a lot of people actually end up just overblowing a middle register G to A to trill the highest register G to A, which places a lot of crazy tension here because you're pushing like crazy. But you can actually just hold down a high G and then trill these two keys together, so C sharp trill key and first trill key together. It sounds a lot truer to the actual tone. You don't get that weird sort of fundamental happening underneath your harmonics. The C sharp trill key is also very useful for many other things. At the time that I ordered this flute, not everybody was ordering it. Some people thought it was just completely a waste of money. Some people were like, I can't live without this. I did a lot of research to figure out if I should have the C sharp trill key or not. Ultimately, I felt that it would be one of those kind of like offset G things because it's so useful for so many things. And that has happened now. I was actually able to pretty much future-proof my flute. Now we have come to the Thumbport. So the Thumbport, again, is treated as an extension for me. Not everyone treats the Thumbport as an extension. Now, my hands are, one, very small, and two, proportionally, my thumb is very short compared to my fingers. Most people's thumbs come up to around here, to like the first joint here in your index finger, or just a bit lower, but mine doesn't even reach just a bit lower. Mine is quite a bit lower from the first joint. So I only found this out from staring at my friends' hands during orchestra rehearsals, band rehearsals. Sometimes they invite me to watch them practice because we did that. We were kind of weird like that. The whole time I would just stare at their right hands because I was having so much trouble with tension in my right hand. Without the Thumbport, I ended up having to lean this way so that I could even reach these keys, which you see how much tension that involves, and it completely flattens my pinky too. I couldn't move very fast, so I was really bummed out about that. I kind of resigned myself at first to never being able to play fast at all, until I found out that really my thumb is just really short, and so if I extend my thumb out, you see that nice natural curve now that I have. You see how it changes my hand posture completely when I come down here and when I'm all the way up here. So this now gives me a lot of leverage to go down to the low notes as well. You'll also notice that I have a B-foot joint. You probably have noticed by now that pretty much all professional flutes have B-foot joints. For a time, there were professional flutes with C-foot joints. My Mateki is a testament to that. So my Mateki is very rare now. Solid silver flute with plateau keys, which are also called closed hole keys, and a C-foot joint. Back when this flute was first sold, it wasn't actually 100% popular to have open hole B-foot joint. If you can imagine, because a C-foot joint literally has one key less than a B-foot joint, having a C-foot joint would actually be cheaper. However, I found that I was playing music with my wind quintet that involved quite a bit of low Bs. I was like, okay, if I keep playing this type of music, I really do have to have a B-foot joint on my flute. The other thing I noticed was that new composers these days like to write music for the entire known range of the flute, and that includes the low B. A lot of newer composers these days may not even know that some flutes can't even play down to a low B. I've even seen some piccolo music that has low C's and low B's written in because they just assume that the range of the flute is the same range as on a piccolo, when in reality, I think the Nagahara Mini is the only piccolo out there right now that can reach down to a low C. There are actually extra keys. Technology on the flute is driven by kind of demand, right? Like it's the same as for like electronics, right? Like people want their electronics to do more and more powerful things. So the technology is going to just keep getting more and more advanced. It's the same thing on the flute. Composers will write impossible things, right? And then flute makers will start thinking to themselves, maybe there's something that we could do on the flute to make this easier. That is the reason why the thumb B flat even exists. The thumb B flat is also a complete cheat key. I've mentioned this before, but Bricialdi's arrangement and variations on the Carnival of Venice theme is completely just to show off how the B flat thumb key works. So the flute that we know today may not be the same flute that we will know in 10 years. So that was why I did as much as I could to future-proof my flute when I bought it, because I wanted it to last me for pretty much my entire lifetime. And the last thing that I got on this flute was a gizmo. Putting down the gizmo will essentially shorten your flute because your air is now coming out of the C key instead of the B key. It is known that higher notes are actually easier to play on C foot joints. So essentially what the gizmo is doing is it's turning your B foot joint into a C foot joint when you are playing higher notes. Now the thing is, you see how far I have to reach? Like look at that. I have small hands. Have I mentioned that yet? Practically speaking, I never think of actually using the gizmo, because for me it's actually easier just to squeeze out the high C and to really work at that high C until I can get it to come out beautifully without the help of a gizmo than to reach over for the gizmo every time. My ring fingers and my pinkies are mildly double jointed. They're not crazy double jointed like my mom's. If I were to reach over all the time like this for the gizmo, it's just creating extra opportunities for my fingers to lock up. So that's why I just naturally never use the gizmo. For me, getting the gizmo was a little bit of a waste of money, but hey, you live and you learn. I believe that is it in terms of how I customized my flute. If you are a flutist and you're looking for a good flute, do not copy me. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. Do not copy my customizations on my flute. Just because I have a Thumbport, it does not mean that you need to have a Thumbport. For some people, adding a Thumbport actually makes life even more difficult for them. So you really want to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy not only researching what all of these customizations are, but observing yourself. What is different about you from your teacher? What is different about you from your friends? And then that way you'll be able to see what things you might need to help you play the flute in a more comfortable way. So that is it for this video. Please let me know in the comments below how you have customized your instrument, or if you have any questions regarding customizing your instrument, please also let us know in the comments below. If I can't answer it, at least someone else probably can. As usual, if you like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. My last video is over there, and if you want to catch me during the week, my social media networks are down there. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Bye. That was the first time I had ever been offered something to buy that was in the 5-digit range. That kind of money was not even a thing in my head to exist.